Do it yourself or in God we trust. Well, we did do it ourselves. How weird can I be? How weird do you want? Even the butthole surfers think I'm weird. Is punk still alive? That's obviously an out-of-touch music critic kind of question. In some ways, maybe it should die, because then it could be reborn, but I think we've reached the point where there's always going to be punk in some way. I mean, the sound of punk and the look of punk is not necessarily part of it anymore. I mean, boy bands look like Johnny Rotten or Sid Vicious, and pop punk bands sound like boy bands. But the spirit of punk goes back to the anti-war hippies, the people who did all the revolt in 1968 in France, goes back to the Beat generation, the early rock and rollers. The spirit is where you find it, basically. And you'll find it in some of these movies, even if the people who made them don't look like punks. So it's where you find it. What drives me mad? Stupid questions. That's not that stupid a question, but you know what I mean. What remains from dead Kennedys? The music, but otherwise I'm very proud of what we did, but as many people know, the other members of the band have turned into, well, they might as well be Republicans up here. They sued because I didn't want to put the music in a Levi's commercial, stole all the rights, and now music is on labels I do not trust and I don't respect. Their manager, who seems to think he manages me, I will not speak to him. I don't trust him. I don't respect him. And if somebody comes to Paris claiming they're Dead Kennedys, be very careful. It might be a really bad cover band. But the spirit of the music and the songs, which I wrote most of anyway, that I think I'm still very proud of, and I'm glad people still like it after all this time. I'm glad it still hits them. Green or red, I don't care. Pol Pot or Bashar al-Assad. Both are very bad people, obviously. We did nothing to stop Pol Pot, and millions of people died. In Syria, not as many people have died, but it's still a very, very terrible situation. And I don't think firing a bunch of missiles into Damascus is going to help anybody. Assad will still be in power. More people will die. More people will hate both America and France for shooting off the missiles. So it's a horrible situation, but it doesn't look like Assad's forces or the rebels are going to be defeated anytime soon. So the best we can do is stay out of the way. How low have we sunk when it's up to a thug like Putin to show us a way out? That's pretty sad. First memories of a piece of music. That would go back to my very, very early days. My parents listened to some folk music like Pete Seeger and the Gateway Singers, a lot of classical music, and even a Japanese kabuki record. I remembered later when I started smoking pot in my hippie teenage years and thought, cool, this sounds like Hawkwind, I like this. And so I know a lot of classical music, but I don't know it because I don't know which composer fits which kind of music. But the ones my parents and I agree on are Carl Orff, Carmina Burana, which my mother sung in the choir when I was a kid when they did that once in Colorado. My first rock and roll memory was when my parents were trying to get me to shut up and go to sleep and turned on a radio and accidentally landed on a rock station. Yeah, leave it there, this is cool. And that was 1965 when I was 7 years old, which means that I got the garage era when those bands were still current and always drifted towards the heavier, wilder things. Then on to Steppenwolf, then on to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, then on to the Stooges and the MC5, and then on to Dead Kennedys. What is so special with alternative tentacles? It's a labor of love that's been going since 1979. It's special to me because it's my label, and I choose everything that goes out on it. So even though we lose money now, and if it wasn't so crazy, we would give it up, I can't give it up because it's community property too for all the bands and everybody who got anything out of it. Plus, I need a label for me. So on we go. My favorite punk movie. Oh, I'm not going to think and stereotype punk because I haven't watched those movies. You know, I've watched a little bit of the second Julian Temple one about the Sex Pistols, but never the whole thing. And so I don't know. So spirit of punk. What makes a spirited punk-ish movie? Well, the more degenerate side of film noir, the juvenile delinquency movies. And in its own way, since it's very, very much an anti-parent and demented kind of a thing, right down to the look, I'll go with 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, which is my favorite movie anyway. Ramones or the Clash? Ramones. I just like their music better. And the Clash in America always bought into rock star hero stuff and very much put themselves in that direction. So, you know, by then, independent punk was going strong, so I was more interested in bands like the Screamers and Negative Trend, and then hardcore here with Black Flag and Minor Threat, and that's where my brain went. 70s rock must die. Well, that's a record I made, obviously, and I think the lyrics are pretty clear on it. I mean, what made punk necessary in the first place was how bad the 70s got, where there was arena rock, almost like Roman gladiator shows or something, or Leni Riefenstahl, Triumph of the Will. There was crap disco, there was crap adult rock like the Eagles or something. And we were a slightly younger generation. We wanted rock that actually rocked. And so punk brought back the spirit of rock and roll. Sure, there's some 70s rock that's good, but that whole shtick was so bad by the late 70s that punk had to happen. Slow down or accelerate, it depends on what. You know, you're about to run over a bunch of kids, slow down your car. You want to stop collapse of the climate of the earth, we need to accelerate because it's the climate collapse that's accelerating. Again, it depends on when, where, my mood, everything.
On your art, maybe?
I try to accelerate, but I've never been that fast at getting things finished. Okay?
On the interview?
On the interview, done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.